Cruelty is indifference to suffering and pleasure in inflicting suffering. Sadism can also be related to this form of action, a concept. Cruel ways of inflicting suffering may involve violence, but affirmative violence is not necessary for an act to be cruel. For example, if a person is drowning and begging for help and another person is able to help with no cost or risk, but merely watches with disinterest or perhaps mischievous amusement, that person is being cruel, rather than violent. George Eliot stated that cruelty, like every other vice, requires no motive outside of itself. It only requires opportunity. Bertrand Russell stated that the infliction of cruelty with a good conscience is a delight to moralists. That is why they invented hell. Gilbert K. Chesterton stated that cruelty is, perhaps, the worst kind of sin. Intellectual cruelty is certainly the worst kind of cruelty. Quote, the word has metaphorical uses. For example, the cliffs remained cruel. Quote, i.e., unclimbable when they desperately needed to be climbed. In The Lord of the Rings. Usage in law. The term cruelty is often used in law and criminology with regard to the treatment of animals, children, spouses, and prisoners. When cruelty to animals is discussed, it often refers to unnecessary suffering. In criminal law, it refers to punishment, torture, victimization, draconian measures, and cruel and unusual punishment. In divorce cases, many jurisdictions permit a cause of action for cruel and inhumane treatment. In law, cruelty is the infliction of physical or mental distress, especially when considered a determinant in granting a divorce. Quote, in sexuality. In a sexual context, sadomasochism is the giving and or receiving of pleasure, often sexual, from acts involving the infliction or reception of pain or humiliation. A subset of BDSM. Practitioners of sadomasochism usually seek out sexual gratification from these acts, but often seek out other forms of pleasure as well. While the terms sadist and masochist specifically refer to one who either enjoys giving pain, sadist, or one who enjoys receiving pain, masochist. Many practitioners of sadomasochism describe themselves as at least somewhat of a switch, or someone who can receive pleasure from either inflicting or receiving pain. Etymology. The term comes from Middle English, via the Old French term cruelt, which is based on Latin crudelitas, from crudelis. Slang uses. In Britain, the cruelty is sometimes said as a slang short form for the name of the National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children, NSPCC, or the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, RSPCA. See also, cruelty to animals, theatre of cruelty, Schadenfreude, sadism, the 4 stages of cruelty, abuse. Simon Baron Cohen, The Science of Evil, On Empathy and the Origins of Cruelty. Basic Books. 2011. Reviewed in the Montreal Review. Susan Sontag. Regarding the Pain of Others. 2003. Notes.